Thank you everyone for joining us today for the Green Flag Award Academy launch event. It's lovely to have you all here. Before we start, we will be recording the session and it will be live on the Academy website afterwards. First of all, I will just do a run through of what we will be going through today. So we'll have Paul Todd, who is the manager of the Green Flag Award, doing an introduction to the Academy. And then Michelle Wald, who is our Learning and Development Manager, will be going through the Academy visions and objectives. Then myself, who is the Skills and Development Coordinator, will show everyone the website and talk through all the upcoming events we have. And then we will have our lovely speakers. And we have Drew Benelick from the National Heritage Lottery Fund, and Charlie Bennett, who are the CEO of Your Park, Bristol and Bath. They will be both delivering some great talks. You'll have the opportunity at the end of both of their talks to ask some questions if you want. If you could do that in the chat function, that would be great. And then also throughout the whole of the webinar, any questions that you might have related to the Academy, please feel free to also put them in the chat function, and then we can go through them at the end, hopefully, if we have time. But yeah, so with that, I will hand over to Paul. Actually, we can just leave it there.
Many thanks, Olivia, and I'm really pleased to welcome so many people here to the launch of the Green Flag Award Academy, which we've been setting up over the last few months. And we're really delighted to be launching this academy as Green Flag Award celebrates its 30th celebrates its 30th anniversary this year. Really pleased also to tell you, be the first to know, that this year is going to be another record-breaking year for Green Flag Award. We've had over 100 brand new applications to the award this year, and some brand new organisations joining the programme. So, put together with our 19 countries internationally, Green Flag Award is probably going to be this year well in excess of 2,500 parks and green spaces around the world. So really exciting year for us. And last September, we were really pleased to receive the contract from MHCLG to deliver Green Flag Award for the next 5 years. So and we have increased our team as well, with Olivia, who's just joined us, who is our skills development officer. And we've been set some targets by government for a Green Flag Award for the next 5 years. Clearly, having more Green Flag Awards to ensure more people have access to quality parks and green spaces, but also to concentrate on a number of areas. How Green Flag Award can continue to improve biodiversity in our parks. How it can also help to support the health agenda, which we know from lots of the statistics we see, how much access to parks and green spaces improves people's physical and mental health. And the other big area for us we're going to be looking at is how we ensure equity of access to our parks and green spaces, but also how the programme can support all of the people managing our precious green spaces to secure the required funding that they need. So I'm delighted we've got Drew Benelick from the National Heritage Lottery Fund and Charlie Bennett from Your Parks Bristol to talk to you today, because they're really sort of two key areas for us to work on over the coming years. And of course, our aim is always to ensure that everybody, whoever they are, wherever they live, have access to a quality park and green space. And of course, as you know, all the benefits that brings to people. Last thing I just want to do is thank Michelle and Olivia for all the work they've done in setting up the Academy. And there's lots of exciting things going to be happening over the coming years. So I'm going to hand over to Michelle, who's going to tell you a little more. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Paul. Myself and Olivia are really, really excited to be able to share what we've been doing over the last few months. And it's become a project so dear to our hearts. The vision is very much to support everybody within the green space environment, organisations, individuals, communities, by providing access to training resources and support. So effectively what we're here to do is to essentially look at where are the training gaps, where are the knowledge gaps, and then being that conduit between those gaps and you know, the organisations, the people, the individuals who can actually help with providing training. So we're not here to replace any existing training. We are here to be able to match training needs with training providers. And if there is a gap that isn't satisfied, then we will look to provide that training ourselves and look to resource it amongst many sort of like different platforms. So it's very much about being a one-stop shop really for your sort of like training needs as we go through. So big vision for us. Moving on. So the aims then for us is to provide access to high quality training and resources wherever they may be sourced, and to help individuals and organisations to achieve excellence in managing and preserving their green spaces by having that extra sort of like skills facility for them, and also providing anybody who comes into the academy with the knowledge and tools that will help them to implement best practice, sustainable practice in the parks they manage, and the spaces that they're actually involved with. We're going to get there by essentially, my slides aren't moving forward, sorry.
Does it move now?
Nope, I've just got aims still. There we go. So what we're aiming to do over, you know, in the forthcoming months and well into the future is to deliver and give access to regular training opportunities. So we're aiming at the moment to give opportunities at least once a month, and they will be in the form of webinars, face-to-face training, study tours, different types of events, so that we can actually sort of like give you or give the people who want the training what they need. We're also going to be producing and collating up-to-date resource materials so that you can be responsible for self-development, and that will be through our resources hub and the research portal that we already have on site, but we're actually looking to improve that and to make sure that there's lots and lots of up-to-date information there available to you. We'll be evaluating the effectiveness of the training that we're providing, and your feedback on today and your feedback on any event that you might participate in will be taken on board and you know, responded to and used to improve everything as we go through this process. And key with this is partnership with our experts and organisations, to ensuring that the training actually reflects the latest research and innovation. So if any of you out there today have something that you would like to share with the industry, that you would like to promote, that you would like more information on, then please get in contact, because we can be the platform and the opportunity for you to actually come on board with us and share all that experience and all the great stuff that's going on. So I'm passing back to Olivia now.
Yes, so hopefully you can see the new Academy website that I've got here. I will go on to the actual web page. So this is where you will be able to find everything that we've got coming up as part of the Academy. So if you've used the Green Flag Award website before, you'll be used to this. But yeah, so we've got a new area called the Academy. Here you can find out like what the Academy is all about, and we've got a new email address, which, as Michelle just mentioned, if you'd like to speak or there's a topic you're interested in us delivering, you can email us here at Green Flag or gfaacademy@keepbritain.org. So yeah, so we've got here our exciting upcoming webinars. This is everything we've got scheduled at the moment. However, at the end of kind of this bit, I'll show you the other webinars that we're kind of in the process of planning. You can sign up to them, for example, through, if you click on the relevant link. So the next one is Parks That Work for Teenage Girls, which is delivered by Abigail Gaines from Makespace York. Here, similarly to how you would have registered for this webinar, you can just click this, register here, and that's how you do it. We also, on the Academy website, have the link to the resource hub, which Michelle was just mentioning. And yeah, as Michelle said, we plan to kind of update it more and more. We sent out a survey prior to the launch of the Academy. And yeah, it seemed like not everyone knew that it was a tool that we had. So hopefully now people know it's there. So hopefully we can use it a bit more. And then yeah, we'll have webinar recordings. So this will be posted on the webinar recordings page. We'll have some in-person events, and then we also will, obviously you always more than welcome to reach out to the Academy if you're kind of needing help with something you're facing in your green space. But we'll also have a page of other organizations that we think are great and can also help you if you'd like to look there. And then we will also have a monthly Academy newsletter, which you can sign up here. It takes you to a form to fill in your details, like this. And yeah, is it gonna load? There we go. And yeah, and that will be a monthly newsletter which will include all of our upcoming events. So you don't always need to check our website. You kind of get an alert about them. It will tell you what recent webinars we've uploaded, and also any recent resources that we've uploaded and we think are really valuable. So yeah, that's our lovely hub. And yeah, as I mentioned, we also have some of these sessions coming up. So we will have one on kind of marketing, which will likely be near the end of May by Keep Britain Tidy, and also hopefully another organisation. And then we've also got one on design. We're going to have 2 delivered by Play England on strategy and frameworks. And then the Royal Horticultural Society will be delivering one on biodiversity. And then also we might have a rewilding in-person session at some point. But yeah, those ones are to be scheduled. So they're not yet on the website. And yeah, so now we'll hand over to our speakers. Thank you. We're very excited to have them both. And thank you so much. They are going to be presenting on really interesting and topical ideas, and yeah, hopefully this is what we'll be reflecting in the Academy. So I will hand over now to Drew, who will be talking about funding and support for parks and green spaces.
Brilliant. Thanks, Olivia. Olivia said to me, could I have a photo? And I said, I'll take the one off LinkedIn. I hadn't realised how old that is. So I should be changing that later today. Hopefully to find a slightly better photo when I have now less hair than I had then, which is frightening. Excellent. Thank you all very much. And congratulations to the Keep Britain Tidy for getting this off the ground. It badly needed. I think skills and training are a massive issue in the sector. So the more that we can do to help people access training, the better, really. I just wanted to speak to you. I've got about 15 minutes just to talk a little bit about what Heritage Fund has been up to in the world of parks and green spaces, some new things we're thinking about, and a couple of projects that we've been supporting in this space. And then at the end, I'll just say a little bit more as well about how you can apply for funding, because I'm sure that's of great interest to everybody. So if you go on to the first slide, I was going to say, I think some people may know I'm a landscape architect by training, and I actually started my career in parks. My very first job straight out of university as a young, unskilled landscape architect was in Cambridge City Council's Parks Department. And I remember at the end of my first week, my boss saying, you need to be more assertive with the park managers because they're going to trample all over you. And downstairs from our office was a room full of 6 park managers who'd been there for some years and knew the parks inside out. So I had to go down and tell them I wasn't going to make their meeting the following day because I was going on a training course, to which they all laughed and said, is it assertiveness training? And I said, yes. And they said, we're all going too. So we all just got more assertive with each other. But I've got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed my inauguration into the world of parks in Cambridge. And I've since worked in parks in both Cambridge and Bedford. So been at the Heritage Fund 16 years, and I've seen it as a key role there to champion parks in all that I do. And Heritage Fund, like Green Flag, has been around over 30 years. And public parks were one of the key things that we first invested in when we were first created, and have invested now over £1 billion in over 900 of the UK's parks. And this is one in Milton Keynes that opened in 2022. An incredible transformation. That view couldn't see before, and has been recreated. It's been a really successful investment. So yeah, Heritage Fund is still passionately invested in parks. And I know some people think, well, we used to have a program called Parks for People and we don't have that anymore. So has Heritage Fund kind of lost its interest in parks? Well, no, we haven't. And if you could go on to the next slide, Olivia, please. So 3 years ago, we launched our new 10-year strategy, which runs till 2033. And I'm pleased to say that we worked really hard to make sure that nature and urban green spaces were thoroughly embedded into that 10-year strategy. So within it, you'll see lines such as we're going to put landscapes and habitats, both urban and rural, into recovery to support abundant natural heritage and healthy systems. We want to increase people's understanding, connection to towns and cities and the countryside. And most importantly, at the bottom is that bit about we want to do more to support skills and capacity. And that's right across the heritage sectors, and not just the green space sector, but also in the nature world, but also in the built heritage sector too. I'm slightly restricted in what I can say because obviously we're restricted by local elections tomorrow, but there will be news coming out fairly soon about more work that we'll be doing around skills and capacity across the heritage sector. Can move on to the next slide. Now, I'm sure many of you, and having had a quick flick down at who's attending today, many of you will be aware of the State of Parks report that we did in 2016, which was the second type report that we did. And many of you contributed data and insight that allowed us to produce that report. Drafted by brilliant Peter Neal and Ian Baggott. It was a really key moment for the Heritage Fund. And although it was published in 2016, I would say it's as relevant today as it was then, in that it came out with some key recommendations for areas that Heritage Fund particularly needed to focus on. And that was about supporting local authorities as the owners to manage these really important assets. It was about promoting new partnerships, new ways of working, and particularly thinking about innovation. It was about supporting communities and helping them to become more involved through volunteering or fundraising. And I was on a call the other day where I heard the National Federation talking about the amount of money that they raise, friends groups, the 7,000 friends groups raise every year to support our parks. It's about developing new management and funding models. It's about better understanding, Paul said this already, actually proving the value of our parks for wider than just green space, but for health, well-being, nature, economy, and particularly for climate change. And also, even back in 2016, we were talking about the need to develop skills and training opportunities for those that work within our parks. Next slide, please. And for Heritage Fund, this has been really fundamental in our thinking. And that up until that report in 2016, we've been very much investing in the single big set piece parks, the big Battersea parks, the Birkenhead parks, the Lister parks, the really big sites. And I think we then had a bit of a moment where we were thinking, well, actually, those parks are incredibly important, but so are all the other green spaces across a town and city. They're all connected. They all need to be connected. They need to be connected so that people can move through them through active transport, so walking and cycling, but also that nature needs to be able to move between them too. And that spaces, the green space outside your front door is almost just as important as the big principal or the historic parks or the heritage parks within a place. And that we need to find a way that all of these places can be sustained together as a green estate. And as park managers, you may manage some of these, but you probably don't manage all of them. We also need to be working with schools and museums and health facilities and social housing providers to get all of these green spaces really to work very well together. And for park professionals, that means you need to be able to work with a very wide variety of people, both within your own organisation, so understanding the work of the transport planners and the space planners, the health professionals. You need to understand more about all of their different areas of work and their skills. For park managers, that means that from the days looking back to the old park superintendent, when horticulture was your key area of skill competency, actually you probably now need to be good at marketing and advocacy and communicating and leasing and businesses and licensing, health and safety. I could go on, but there are a huge range of skills that you need to have in order to be able to manage this amazing range of sites. If you go on to the next slide, please, Olivia. And the importance of skills and learning is fundamental to that. I've sat on quite a few different groups, including the Parks Working Group that MHCLG ran, working with Midlands Parks Forum and others, to look at the importance of skills. And I think, as Olivia has said, we have a pretty good range, our idea of the range of skills that are needed, but there are lots of different ways of learning. And this slide really just tries to illustrate some of those. So some of it is around guidance and advice. Some of it is around toolkits that you might be able to use in your day-to-day work. Some of it is formal training or online training. Peer mentoring, I think, is becoming increasingly important. So actually, a lot of parks professionals are actually fairly on their own now, particularly in the smaller local authorities. So having a mentor that you can talk to, share your ideas and your thinking is really important. Seeing is believing, I believe. So having good case studies and knowing where those are, and actually being able to go and see people doing stuff, being inspired by seeing places that are doing brilliant stuff, I think is just as important, as are communities of practice. So pulling people together, whether that's online or through virtual meetings or through face-to-face meetings, all of those things I think are really, really important. And the academy is a really important part of that overall infrastructure. But it's not the only solution, and there are other things. I think that's the important part that Michelle said there. It's about networking and signposting to the learning that will benefit you most. So Heritage Fund is also supporting several other projects at the moment, which are around skills and training. So I'm just going to mention a couple of those projects now, if we can move on. One of them that you may have come across is Nature Towns and Cities, which was a partnership we launched last year, working with Natural England and the National Trust, but also with Northern Ireland Environment Agency, Natural Resources Wales and Nature Scot. So this is a truly UK-wide project. And it's all about trying to put nature at the heart of green space management in towns and cities. So everything that local authorities should be doing and thinking about can be viewed through the lens of nature. And this isn't a new piece of work. We've been testing ideas. We ran a program called Future Parks Accelerator, where we work with a number of places. And we've been really testing things out in places like Plymouth and Nottingham and Birmingham and Edinburgh. And it's about supporting local authority teams to really think about how they can make the most of nature in their place, and that nature becomes an asset. So it's we launched it last year. There are 19 places that we've been able to support with grant funding. But one of the things that we were very clear on is that whilst those places have the capacity to do some of the pioneering thinking and working, we also wanted that learning to be shared with others. So we have a network that's been set up. The learning is all going online. There are websites, there are toolkits. I think there are 40 different learning modules on there now at the moment. So if you want to learn more about it, do just Google Nature Towns and Cities, have a look at the website, and you'll recognize the logos. And there is a newsletter that you can sign up for, which will tell you far more about it. I would urge you to take a look at that, because it is an absolute wealth of information. I think we have about 4,000 people signed up at it at the moment, but there is so much learning there that you can gain from. So do have a look at that. I'm hoping also that we'll be able to join the Academy and do some training sessions on things like accreditation, which is the whole place way of recognising the value of green space that links very, very closely to Green Flag and builds on Green Flag. Go on to the next slide. The other project I just wanted to mention is the Green Heritage Future Leaders Programme. Now, this was created by the Midlands Parks Forum and by brilliant people like James Diamond and Alison Bates and Lauren Clark, who I think are all on the call. This is a project that we're funding. We offered a grant a while ago and it is now up and running. This is paid for training. So there is a cost, but it is heavily subsidised, I believe, by Heritage Fund being involved. Now, there are formal training sessions. It's online, it's in person, includes mentoring. There's a whole different load of ways of learning through this as well. And I think if you go on the website for this, you'll find it actually says closed, but I am told it is still open for applications. So if you're interested, do go and have a look at the website, or you can drop in a message to Lauren in the chat maybe. Or I think I did see some links popping up. So hopefully there's a way of finding out about that. So both of these are ways that you can really help to improve your learning, and they offer different things from the Academy and different ways of learning. So hopefully you can find something there to suit your needs. I think last slide, please. Now, this is about how you can access Heritage Fund money. Heritage Fund will invest about 3.6 billion over the next 7 years. And around 23% of that, I am hoping, is going to be going to land and nature projects, of which parks and green spaces are a key part of that. We are always open for funding applications. We don't have particular cycles. So you can apply for funding from £10,000 upwards to 10 million. I'd urge you, if you've not applied to us before, to look at the 10,000 to 250,000 price range. And it is relatively straightforward to get a view on whether you're an applicant, whether you should apply. So you can do something called a project inquiry form, which is a relatively straightforward form. You fill in online, that comes to us, and within 10 days, you'll get a reply, which will be, that looks a really interesting project, carry on and fill in a full application, or we'd like to work with you and maybe do a bit of thinking about how this might be an application, or we're really not the right funder for your project, so maybe you need to look somewhere else for funding. So we try to be helpful. We know that time is precious and we don't want people wasting time writing great long applications that aren't going to be successful. So we've got help there. And the other key tip that I would give is you need to look very carefully at our 4 investment principles. Every project that's submitted to us will need to respond to these 4 investment principles: saving heritage, protecting the environment, organisational sustainability and inclusion. Those are our key things that every project is judged against. So really think carefully about how you're helping us to deliver our ambitions under those individual headings. So that was all I was going to say. I was just thinking, I've been through having to do my appraisal at the moment. And a key part of that is thinking about your objectives for the year ahead. So now is the perfect time to be thinking about skills and training and signing up for courses. So have a real careful think about the 2 courses I've mentioned, but also the Academy as well, and see what opportunities there are for you. So thank you very much. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Drew. That was very brilliant to hear about all the organisations you're involved with. And yeah, with the Green Flag Academy, hopefully we will get to do a bit of work with Midlands Park Forum and towns and cities. But yeah, I'll have a look now at the Q&A function and see if I think that they were interested in the name of the newsletter. So was that the I'll let you go.
So if you go on the Nature Towns and Cities website, and it is genuinely really easy to find. So if you just Google Nature Towns and Cities, on there you'll find there's a link to a newsletter, and you just need to subscribe to that newsletter, and that will mean you'll then get the monthly bulletins that Nature Towns and Cities won't be deluged with stuff. It's literally a monthly newsletter which will tell you about the courses that are coming up. And thank you for whoever's put the link in the chat. That's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, brilliant. There are some links to both Nature Towns and Cities and an email to Midlands Park Forum. I'm not sure if there any. Can the Green Heritage Future Leaders Programme be paid for in instalments?
Well, good question, and not one I know the answer to. But I don't know whether Lauren or James can maybe come on and because I see they're there. Can they answer that? Are they able to? Or if not, maybe they can just answer in the chat.
Yes, or if their email's there. See if I can.
Yeah, Lauren's put a link in an email, so hopefully.
Amazing. Lovely. If there are no more questions, then we can maybe hand over to Charlie, who will be discussing your Park Bristol and Bath report on Beyond Distance, rethinking accessibility to parks for different ethnic groups in Bristol. So take it away, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully you can all see my screen okay. Nod. Excellent. Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm Charlie. I'm the Chief Exec of Your Park Bristol and Bath. And we are a parks organisation, charity, independent from Bristol and Bath and North East Somerset. And we were set up back in 2019 as part of the Rethinking Parks project that was looking at different ways to steward and fund our parks and green spaces. So yeah, we've been around for a little while now. And over the course of our journey that we've been on, we've become really clear that, in a nutshell, we're all about making sure that everybody can access parks and the associated health and wellbeing benefits of being outside, being in nature, connecting with your community, moving, and everything that you all know very well. So yeah, we really tried to focus on that, and we're really clear that that is what our charitable mission is, and that is how we bring added value to our two cities, supporting the work that both of our local authorities do, where stewardship, kind of maintenance, management stays with the Parks Department. And yeah, we really focus on breaking down barriers, understanding the communities across both cities that currently aren't using their spaces, and co-developing solutions to that. So I'm sure you'll all be very well aware that nationwide access to urban nature and to our parks and green spaces is unequal. Across the nation, the Out of Bounds report from Groundwork, which came out, well, a good few years ago now, kind of clearly showed that disabled people, minority ethnic groups, and people living in the lower income areas are among the least likely to be using their parks and green spaces. And there's a whole host of complex reasons for that, whether that's physical, psychological barriers. And yeah, we've kind of taken it as our mission locally to really deeply understand the experiences of people within our communities, and work with them to explore how we can change things. So I'm going to be talking to you today about a new report that we've published in partnership with Bath University. But before I move on to that, I just want to have another little plug for another piece of research that we did. And this was specifically looking at the disabled people and carers living in Bristol and Bath, and we take them as two interconnected communities. So locally, that's around kind of 31% of the community are affected. Either they are caring for someone unpaid, a loved one, or they live with some form of health condition or impairment that limits their day-to-day life. So yeah, back in 2022, we published a report called Not Just a Checkbox. There's a QR code there if you want to zap it on your phones, or I'm sure we'll be able to send the link out either in the chat or following up from this call. And that was our first piece of research to really understand, yeah, how local disabled people and carers found using Bristol and Bath parks. Unsurprisingly, that chucked up a whole load of challenges, but also some really kind of exciting opportunities that we've been able to take forward over the last few years. Shout out to Drew and Heritage Lottery Fund, because as a result of this research, we managed to get a grant within that £10,000 to £250,000 mark to use the principles of nothing about us without us, which informs everything that we do. So we always use a community first and co-development approach to developing all of our work. And we've been able to take forward 3 of the main recommendations that came out of this research in partnership with local disabled people and carers with that funding from Heritage Lottery Fund. So thank you to the team there for supporting that. But yeah, I'm here mostly today to talk about global majority communities and their experience of using parks in Bristol. So locally, we've got, in Bristol, it's about 19% of people are from different ethnic backgrounds. And we have teamed up for this piece of research with Bath University to give it that extra clout. And Zina Abdullah, who you can see in the foreground of that image there, was our kind of researcher and has worked on this kind of PhD. And yeah, being able to pull together using the university's participation grant, as well as some funding that we secured through Bristol City Council, has meant that this research has been really rich and really beneficial and impactful. Just to very quickly touch on our research methodology, I am not an academic or a researcher, so keeping this very top line. But yeah, we did a big online survey to the general public of Bristol, to people of all backgrounds to understand how they were using urban green space across the city. We then ran focus groups as well, and we very specifically targeted these in the areas of lower income in Bristol, as well as then focusing on different ethnicities within that, so we could really get to grips with barriers that people would experience because of where they live, as well as who they are. We then wrapped up the research with a participatory design workshop. So this was looking not just at kind of barriers and challenges that people face when using parks, but also looking at what some of the design solutions might be that would help make kind of that urban green space more inclusive and welcoming. So on the whole, for a lot of this work, we've really focused on those neighbourhood parks, and that's very much our niche and our USP as a charity. We tend to think that the destination parks and the estates that the councils manage are obviously income generators and have a real focus from a tourism and kind of wider citywide perspective. So we very much focus on those neighbourhood parks, often in the areas where there's lower community capacity because they're lower income, and where our support can start to activate and improve things in sight. So a lot of the research and findings are kind of more applicable to that type of park, if you're thinking about the ones that you manage in your portfolio. So we found a huge range of challenges that people were experiencing, and I would really encourage you to read the report that's on our website, but also the academic paper as well, which goes into the kind of real depth and rich evidence that hopefully you'll all be interested in. And I think the first top finding was that just having a park close to you does not mean in any way, shape or form that you are going to use it. All of the barriers and challenges that I'll talk about kind of feed into that, but one of the clear kind of recommendations from this academic study has been that distance standards just aren't enough, and that we have to be focusing more on quality, psychological safety, and all elements of a park that will make someone actually want to use it, even if it is right on their doorstep. The kind of other elements that we heard about were feeling unwelcome. So particularly we heard about racist incidents. We heard about not feeling that parks are necessarily designed for the type of use that people really wanted. One of the interesting findings from the big data that we got through the survey was that the way that different ethnicities and different cultures want to use parks is much more focused on socializing and being out in larger groups, whereas kind of white counterparts and other park users tended to go more for things like exercise, walking the dog, a kind of more individualistic approach. So yeah, spaces don't necessarily feel welcome for people at the moment. We also heard a lot about dogs and responsible dog ownership, and that's something that came through our research with disabled people and carers. The prevalence of dog ownership in our cities following the pandemic is definitely now having quite a significant impact for kind of equity groups or people who maybe aren't stable on their feet, or different cultures where there's not as much knowledge or understanding of dogs. And that's something that I'm sure you're all experiencing in parks, whether it's universal hatred of dog mess or genuine fear. Balancing those needs of users is really challenging. I've touched on different types of use already, but yeah, wanting to use parks in groups. Safety was a key theme, and definitely this will in part be due to the fact that we held all of our workshops in the poorer areas of the city, but lots of people did not feel safe to use their local parks. We've heard a lot about maintenance, and just the way that a park is looked after really changes the way it feels, and how a park that's had a lot of tender loving care and that feels well maintained is going to feel like a space that you want to spend time and feel safer. We also heard a lot about the fact that a lot of provision in the parks and the areas that we were focused on, the provision was just for kids. So it'll be a play area and a bit of grass. So not a huge amount for other people to want to spend time. And then, yeah, basic amenities, whether that's toilets, cafes, gateways, all need to be there or be improved. So we have created this model, which is kind of looking at that beyond distance and beyond provision and meters squared available to what else parks need. And actually we kind of reframed it slightly. So the first one is obviously, is there a park there? Is it free to enter? Is it near to you? And then we've focused on physical and emotional needs next. So what is in that park? And we're really bringing that emotional needs element to the forefront. Like if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel like you're welcome there, you are not going to be using that space for that tier 2 needs. Then there's the fundamental amenities, perceptions, and then the desirable things come later on, whether that's cafe kiosks, picnic tables, etc., and having more kind of community ownership and representation. So just really hammering home that, yeah, if the park's there, that doesn't really mean anything if it doesn't feel like it's for you. So I'm now going to focus on a couple of, well, 3 of the main barriers and some of the solutions that were spoken about. Obviously, there's a huge amount more in the report, so I really would encourage you to go and read it. But yeah, just going to focus on 3 for now. So the first one from different global majority communities' perspectives, and the one thing that we heard about most was the prevalence of dogs. So for some people, that was about a genuine fear. For some people, it's just about, we heard a lot about people who want to go to be able to visit a park for a full day, to be able to celebrate particular cultural moments or be out there with their family. But badly behaved dogs off leads, if they come over and kind of touch your clothes, you would then, if you had to pray in the park, you'd have to go home and wash first. Also, lots of people talking about just misunderstanding dog behavior because they're not around them very much. But yeah, at the most intense side of things, there's a definite fear, and people don't go to parks because of that prevalence of dogs at the moment. In terms of solutions, there were some really interesting things that were explored. So obviously dog control measures is one thing, and that could be anything from kind of zoning parks or introducing dog-free zones, and also kind of having, yeah, more vigilance and enforcement of that, which is obviously such a challenge when you're thinking about how you resource it. But we also heard a lot about different behaviour change projects and ideas, and not just focused on dog owners, but also some particularly of the Somali community that we were speaking to in Lawrence Hill really wanted to know more about dogs so that they could understand and recognise different behaviours and know when they actually needed to be nervous or when a dog is just genuinely being friendly. But overall, I think one of the things that we've taken from this is that it's incredibly complicated, whether you're looking at the diversity in terms of dog ownership, whether that's reactive dogs, companion dogs, dog owners and dog walkers, dog owners and dogs need different things from different parks as well. And any solutions that were going to be designed for this have to be done in partnership with the local community who maybe are struggling to use a space as a result, but with dog owners too. And the last thing that we would ever want to do as a charity is kind of advocate for measures that stop dog owners being out in parks, getting all the benefits that they get from walking their dogs twice a day. So very complicated, but something that we're kind of going to be interested to explore through some new projects over the next few years. And interestingly, one of my colleagues went to a park in Portsmouth the other day, and I wrote it down, but I have lost my notes. But there's a particular park in Portsmouth that is a dog-free park. And she said that she walked in and she was like, it's so diverse here. There were lots of disabled people, loads of people from different cultures enjoying the space. And she was like, what is it? Why is this the case? And then realised it's a dog-free park. So that was a really interesting reflection. So if there's anyone from Portsmouth on the call, we'd love to have a chat with you about how that came about. The other element is that social use point. So yeah, often people from different cultures really want to be able to get out to use a space in big groups. And there are a huge range of barriers that are put in place to that, whether it's kind of event licenses that mean you can't gather in groups for over 25 people, or kind of perceptions and fears from different communities. We heard a lot about people making comments while a big group is there around mess, even though everything would be cleared away when they go home. And then also about the fact that parks aren't really designed to support that big kind of group gathering. So in terms of solutions to that, there's some really lovely design stuff that can be done in terms of having more seating, barbecuing picnic areas, having lots of shelter and shaded spaces. It makes it clear that people are welcome to come into the park and spend time there for a long period. We also heard about making it easier to hold larger gatherings. So yeah, event licenses for things that aren't to make profit is something that I'm sure all landowners will be grappling with. And then also encouraging local community groups and organisations to be able to hold their culturally relevant events and activities in spaces. lots of practical things that can be done there. And then we also spoke a lot about safety. So safety was the second thing that we spoke about a huge amount. Again, likely down to the fact that we were looking at this project in some of the poorer areas of the city, but whether it is instances of sexual assault, drug dealing, kind of bad lighting, or kind of perceptions of teenagers being out in that space, or just social attitudes that kind of say that locally just don't go into that park. Safety was a real concern. So, of course, there are the kind of standard safety solutions around improving visibility, sight lines, lighting, something that we kind of struggle with in terms of how expensive it is and the biodiversity implications, but that is something that we hear about consistently through everything that we do. Making sure that entrances and routes are nice and wide and clear. And again, the more that you have that kind of increased social interaction, presence in spaces, that you can activate them and get people using them in those positive and proactive ways, the more that kind of sense of belonging and feeling of safety will increase. That's definitely something we've seen in our work in South Bristol and kind of Hartcliffe and Withywood over the last 4 years. So yeah, overall, it's also just about recognising and addressing that there is that inequality in safety perception, and taking kind of proactive action to address that. So yeah, and across everything that we do and all of every solution that we'd kind of acknowledge or advocate for, the biggest thing for us is to make sure that people who are affected by the issues that you're talking about are involved in the solutions that you're developing. So whether that's co-development or using the principles of nothing about us without us, yeah, whether you're improving visibility and safety, creating those inclusive spaces, or exploring different ways that you could address the impact of dogs, that has to be done in partnership with the communities that you're focused on. Yeah, that's our main plug for all of this. Oh, my laptop fell down. So yeah, that is everything from me. Hopefully some of that's interesting. I'm sure a lot of it you'd be aware of. You may be aware of instances of that stuff in your spaces already. But yes, we'd love to talk to more people about it, and do have a look at the academic report for that. It's a really good, if not quite technical read.
Thank you so much, Charlie. I think everyone very much enjoyed that and found it really valuable. There's lots of people responding on the chat with thanking you for your reports, but also sending what they've kind of their research. And yeah, I think it's a really important topic area. And it's great to have such targeted research with such informed then outcomes that people can really put into place. I think that's really valuable. We've got a few questions. So we've got one. The question is trauma-informed design part of your work?
Yes, it is. So all of our team are trauma, I can't remember exactly what the training's called, but yes, we all have trauma-informed response training. And that kind of is embedded throughout everything that we do, acknowledging that people are going to be coming from a real diversity of experience, and that trauma could come in any form. So yeah, we use that across all of our kind of work and programming.
Amazing. Yes, lots of really great links. I think I'm just going to see if there are any more questions. I think that's all the questions. Amazing presentation, clearly. And yeah, we've got, I think there are lots of links to some of your research to your website. Some are also on our resource hub. So hopefully everyone will be able to find what they're looking for somewhere. And yeah, so we will finish off now with our Q&A. So I quickly want to share my screen again to show you. Here we go. Just first of all, now feel free to put anything in the Academy chat for our Q&A if you have any questions. You can also find our details here. So again, this is the link to the website. And here you can sign up to any of the events we've got coming up, sign up to the newsletter, find our email address if you aren't able to write down now, but you've also got our email address here, and Michelle and my direct contact details if you would like to speak to us directly. But yeah, if you're interested in speaking, we want to be like a connector force with everyone that works within the green space sector and encourage learning and help everyone learn. So if you have anything you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. And if you think there are knowledge gaps in the space, please do reach out. And we'd love to have a chat. I am going to stop sharing because to look at the chat box, annoyingly, I can't share my screen at the same time. But when does the Academy site go live? It is live now. So yes, I'll share a direct link to it so that on this chat so that you guys can just have a look directly. Here you go. And then, yeah, you can then get all the relevant details there. There, lovely. And yeah, while we wait for any of the questions to come in, thank you both Drew and Charlie so much for taking the time to present. Both the topics are so important for parks and also really valuable, I guess, for people trying to understand funding opportunities, trying to understand how to make parks more accessible. And yeah, I think hopefully with the Academy going forward, this is kind of what we want to do. We want to be able to platform new research, new findings, funding opportunities, and just kind of aid the improvement of green spaces. Can the Academy be accessed by all or just Green Flag judges? It is accessible to all. So yeah, anyone is able to sign up to the webinars, access our resource hub, get the newsletter. It's for everybody. I'll give a few more minutes. Yeah, it's very exciting. Hopefully as many people as possible can sign up to some of our webinars. Let's see, where there may be a gap in partnerships, can you help research one? I'm not sure, but Paul or Michelle, I think you guys have been maybe involved a bit more in partner research before. This is from Alison McGuinness, sent this message.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about where there may be a gap in partnership. Can you help research one?
Yeah, I think I think that's the plan, isn't it? And I mean that's what we want to hear from people. That's what we want to hear from people, isn't it? Where are the gaps and where can we facilitate bridging some of those gaps to make sure we're sharing with as many partners as possible and signposts, as Michelle said earlier on, signposting people to partners and where potential partnerships can support the sector.
Thank you. Are there any links that can be shared for the Green Heritage Future Leader programs? I think if people I think we've had a link previously, but yeah, we can at the end of the chat we can reflag it. Oh yeah, someone said it afterwards. So from the Academy link on the page on the right, so someone's asked, the Academy link sent is a single page. Where can we access the resource hub? Within the Academy page, on the right hand side, there's a list of everything that is part of the Academy. And like along that list, there is a link to the resources hub. Would welcome informational talks for the smaller friends groups. Yeah, we can definitely look into doing something similar to that. That would be lovely. And thank you about the information on the mobile device. It looks different to a laptop. Will the park assessment toolkit that is being created as part of the research in Bristol and Bath be available to all? I think that might be for you, Charlie, if you're able to hop back on.
Yeah, definitely. It will be. So we are hoping to publish it early next year. and it will be made available nationwide. We want it to go as far as possible, so then it actually gets used. So yeah, we're talking to Green Flag and Heritage about how we can do that and make it come everywhere, but obviously keep an eye on our social channels and our website for that.
Thank you. And then we have we attended the National Federation of Parks Forums to outline this new exciting academy? Not that I'm aware of, but do we know?
No, that's something definitely we would want to do, and it's certainly yes. I've had initial discussions with I know Dave Morris was on before, wasn't he? So yeah, that's something we want to pick up with the National Federation as well as how we can work together with them. Yeah.
Okay, I think, thank you for flagging that, Jane. We'll have a look at the sign up. Let's see if anything else is coming through, but I think that might be all of the questions. If you have any more, please feel free to reach out. Yeah, I'll put obviously on the Academy website, you can find the Academy email address. That's probably the best place to reach out to, but you have mine and Michelle's email address as well. But thank you so much for everyone attending and for our brilliant speakers. It was great to have this webinar launch. But yeah, I don't know if Paul and Michelle, if you have anything before we go to say, or if
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody to attending. This is the start of something we hope will really support you. I just noticed there's a message on from Anna Barker, who we obviously many of you will know we work together with her on the looking at making parks more accessible for women and girls. And she said, "Are we going to have some sessions on the wicked issues, i.e., cross-cutting, hard to address but recurrent issues?" That's exactly the type of thing we want people to feed through to us. And again, we want to be really responsive as well. So if something suddenly is starting to become an issue in parks, like we've had in the past, it comes into the summer, we get barbecues, and then we suddenly get people deliveries on motorbikes going through parks or electric bikes being used in parks. We want to hear that, do get in touch with us when we have these emerging issues, because what we want to do is be really responsive to those and bring people together very quickly to provide you with support through the Academy. Yeah, so once again, thanks very much. And I mean, please keep in touch with us. It's really exciting part of what we're doing. It's part of what we've been asked to do with Green Flag Award is look at how we can improve skills within the sector. And of course, working towards ensuring that we have more and more parks and green spaces that everybody in every community is able to access. And I think part of, we see, our judges and we see all the fantastic stuff that goes on in parks and green spaces. And I think that's part of what we want to do with the Academy is share what's going on wider with people, so people can see the fantastic things that are happening and the fantastic things that can be achieved and raise aspirations as well. So we move towards better parks, more inclusive parks, and parks for everybody. So thank you very much.
Lovely. Right. Well, thank you everybody for attending, and hopefully see you at one of our sessions soon. And yeah, it was lovely to have so many people turn up today. Yeah, very exciting. And again, thank you to the speakers. But yeah, hopefully see you soon. Bye.
Bye.